Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some absolutely wild and breaking news this Sunday night as five-star defensive lineman Justin Scott commits to the Ohio State Buckeyes. And you knew he took the official visit to Ohio State. You knew he liked it from what you heard, but you also thought Notre Dame, Miami, Michigan were still players in this recruitment and that it wasn't far from being over. And then tonight, Sunday night, he commits to Ohio State. Ohio State fans, we'll get into what Justin Scott brings to the table, but this is a massive, massive commitment. 6'4", 310 pounds, bona fide top 15 national ranked player, one of the best defensive linemen in the 2024 class. This is a truly, I think it's about that time to start having the conversation of Ohio State potentially not only having the best recruiting class in 2024 and really going toe-to-toe with the Georgia Bulldogs. This is shaping up to be one of the best classes that we've seen in a very long time, potentially, depending on how many recruits they take. Like one of the best classes that we've ever seen in terms of average player ranking. The amount of talent that Ohio State is acquiring in this 2024 class is absolutely freaky. We're going to break down Justin Scott. We're also going to talk about this 2024 class for the Buckeyes and then what it could look like if a few more guys end up committing to Ohio State. But before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. And when we talked to Bryce West last weekend, the Ohio State fans, you guys have been absolutely awesome. It's been a blast talking recruiting, talking ball with you guys in the comment section. So appreciate you guys checking us out Sunday night for some breaking news. If you do enjoy the updates, you enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And let's get into Justin Scott. And shout out Larry Johnson, just continuing to be one of the best recruiters in the country. And we talk about this a lot and how important it is to have those assistant coaches that get it done on the recruiting trail. Ohio State has some of the best in the business, right? Brian Hartline, probably the best in the business in terms of assistant coaches recruiting really well. Larry Johnson, probably in the top 5. You look at the talent that he's consistently brought in at that defensive line and developing. Like, he's good at developing, too. That's not the shell him short at that. This Ohio State team on the defensive line is doing a really good job. And you take a look at what this defensive line class could look like in 2024, it's absolutely freaky. I do want to talk Justin Scott first. Again, what you're going to see when we turn on the film is a guy that it's just rare to have the size and the athleticism that Justin Scott has. You're going to see him rushing off the edge. Like, that's how athletic this guy is. And they were just putting him in spots where he could be in space and be an athlete. Phenomenal, phenomenal player that has the ability to take on double teams and be a force in the run game, but also penetrate and be an elite pass rusher as well. And you're seeing with the RPO game, having that ability to be disruptive, having players like Michael Hall Jr. does for Ohio State, like the guys that can get disruptive inside on the interior defensive line, that's absolutely massive. And a guy like Justin Scott certainly going to be able to do that. Getting into the film, again, like just a freak show. Like you see why he's a top 15 national player. The blend of twitchiness and athleticism combined with just he's a massive, massive human. It's truly special. This is a guy that's probably a bona fide, I don't want to call him a bona fide first rounder because he's only an 18-year-old kid, but it's really hard to see this kid not being an all Big Ten type of defensive lineman as he gets to Ohio State. Again, like the athleticism, his ability to move in space for the size that he is and his get off for someone who's 310 pounds, it's truly special. It's the ideal special blend of size and strength and agility and athleticism and all of that into one. The power is absolutely unreal in this kid's hand. Ohio State, we don't really need to watch any more highlights on him because you know what you're getting. You're getting a bona fide stud. What I want to talk about, and I think what a lot of Ohio State fans are really interested in, is let's take a look at these 2024 recruiting rankings. Ohio State, 3 5-stars, 11 4-stars, and now check that. This is their 17th commitment. That'll be their 4th 5-star, so more than the Georgia Bulldogs. I want you guys to pay attention to the average player ranking, a 93.35, and that's only going to go up because you land a guy in Justin Scott who his official ranking is a 90.9939, so that's going to go plenty up for Ohio State. You're looking at a class that Georgia's ranked number 1 because they have more commits in the boat in this 2024 class, but in terms of the average player ranking, Ohio State has a more talented class in terms of how their average rank of their player. This will be their 4th 5-star. They have 11 4-stars and only 2 3-stars. Now, more importantly for Ohio State fans, you take a look at who's been on campus for the Ohio State Buckeyes the last couple weeks and what this class really could be, right? Taken back to Friday, June 23rd. Justin, that official visit weekend must have went really well, right? You land Justin Scott, you land Bryce West. It seems like you're trending in the right direction for Aaron Scott, who's committing at the end of the month. Kingston Viliamu-Asa, you're kind of battling USC for a kid out in St. John Bosco. I will say, and I'm kind of I'm a little sicko. I'm on Twitter a lot. He was wearing Ohio State gloves at a 7-on-7 tournament this weekend, so maybe a good sign for you. But you do have Peyton Pierce in the boat, so like obviously you want him there. But I believe you have Stover too. You're feeling good about that linebacker position. Demarion Witten commits to Ohio State, and then Miles Lockhart committing this week, a top 4-star cornerback from the state of Arizona, also projected to go to Ohio State. You're looking at every single player on this official visit weekend from the June 23rd committing to Ohio State. But you have Justin Scott. He's your 4th 5-star. Now my numbers are getting all confused. You're going to get Aaron Scott. You're trending in the right direction for Aaron Scott, who's a top 50 national player. But it gets even more fun for Ohio State fans, right? You take a look at Friday, June 16th. KJ Bolden, he's announcing early August. It's between Georgia, Ohio State, and Clemson. From what it sounds, I think Florida State's a contender. I've heard that people really think Ohio State has a phenomenal shot at KJ Bolden, and they also have a really good shot at Edric Houston from Buford, Georgia. So you're looking at 2 of the top kids out of Buford, Georgia, potentially trending to Ohio State. Now, KJ Bolden, it sounds like, is a little bit more up for grabs. Edric Houston, do you see some crystal balls popping for Edric Houston to go to Ohio State? Which would be, you take a look at Edric Houston, Justin Scott as a duo on that defensive line. That's one of the best 2024. That's probably the best defensive line group in that 2024 class. You potentially add in a guy in Dylan Stewart, who I know is considering Ohio State, but also South Carolina in the mix. But there's also some other guys that are kind of interesting storylines for Ohio State. Gerby Lambert, I think crystal ball to go to Notre Dame. I will say this until he commits to Notre Dame, and I will say it until he signs his papers to go to Notre Dame. If Ohio State wants to turn up the heat on Gerby Lambert, a position that I feel like they wish they could recruit a little bit better, I think Ohio State can land Gerby Lambert. Now, Xavier Brown's another interesting guy who trending to USC. He's a West Coast kid out of Mater Dei. USC just took 3 cornerbacks and then 2 other safeties in the last 2 weeks. So maybe he's a little bit more of an up for grabs guy. Now, Ohio State, Bryce West, Aaron Scott, Miles Lockhart, they're pretty full too. So Xavier Brown, not really sure about. But even going back to Friday, June 9th, Brandon Baker, he's another guy that I could certainly see Ohio State prioritizing and being another 5-star to join Ohio State's class. And then you have Marquise Lightfoot, who's committing tomorrow. And it sounds like Ohio State is in a very good spot for another kid from Chicago, the number 3 player in the state of Illinois. You got the number 1 in the boat now with Justin Scott. Now you're looking at getting Marquise Lightfoot, who is a very fun film watch, right? 6'5", 220, twitched up. Like, he's got to put on some weight, but in terms of the twitchiness, his get off the line of scrimmage, extremely, extremely exciting to watch. And you look at Ohio State and all that talent that you've had on campus, I would throw a guy like Jaden Jackson in the mix, and certainly Ohio State's leading. And this could get fun real quick for Ohio State. And again, it is early in this cycle still. Like, there's a lot longer to go, but Ohio State's sitting at the number 2 class in the country with the number 1 average player rank. And if you're an Ohio State fan, you have to be absolutely thrilled with what's going on in Columbus. Again, appreciate you guys checking the boys out. If you do enjoy the late night update here, consider subscribing to the channel. We have some more news for Ohio State, I think, coming tomorrow. So stay locked in for that. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.